This is KVUE News Midday.
I need to get this piece of justice and this closure for him.
A mother's desperate plea to find the driver who killed her teenage son. The message she wants that person to hear. The escalating dispute over the U.S. airstrike in Syria has thrust Washington and Moscow into a level of tension rarely seen since the end of the Cold War. What the president is saying today about America's involvement overseas. Good morning, everyone. I'm Terry Gruca. Thanks so much for joining us. Everything back to normal today at Texas State University after classes were canceled for a few hours yesterday afternoon because of the heavy rain. You see it right there. The San Marcos River surged above its banks at Sewell Park, putting much of the park underwater. Student dorms also flooded, and even a few of the classrooms there. We thankfully missed the worst of that storm here in Austin. Take a live look outside right now. Still kind of gloomy out there. And we're wondering if we can see any more storms billowing up. Let's get a look at what we're tracking right now with Storm Team meteorologist Erica Lopez. Hey, Erica.
Hey there, Terry. Well, the good news is that we're not tracking a major system that's going to dump as much rain as we did see, but we still have some pockets of isolated showers in our forecast. Take a look at some of the rainfall totals we saw from yesterday. This one is in San Marcos specifically. Radar indicated rainfall accumulation for the system that pushed through over 7 inches, but widespread. I think the hardest hit was just to the north of our viewing area in areas such as Bell County. Close to a foot of rain for a lot of folks, but Mason County, also Llano County, had a decent amount of rainfall reports. But again, the Austin metro area, we managed to dodge the heavy amount of rainfall. Still, a lot of low-level moisture is hanging around, so expect this gloomy, cloudy pattern for the rest of the work week into the weekend. We're not expecting much sunshine in our forecast. Daytime high temperatures, at least all the clouds will not allow us to be above average for your forecast conditions. Right now, temperatures hovering just under 70 for Austin, in the lower 60s for Burnett. Mason, you haven't left the 50s this morning yet, so not too bad for you guys. 63 at LBJ Ranch, and Austin at 67 as we speak. So I'm going to chat about the rest of the work week and into the weekend, talk about what type of rain shower activity we're expecting, and also Easter weekend, I think, is a big forecast also. So I'll chat about that in just a bit. Terry, back to you.
We'll see you then. Thanks so much, Erica. Some developing news this morning. The person of interest in the death of an Austin attorney, James Short, has been arrested in New Orleans. We don't have a name of the man at this time. We'll continue to update you on this story here on KVUE and KVUE.com. Happening today, a final vote in the Senate for a bill that would give protections to elected officials who don't want to issue same-sex marriage licenses based on religious beliefs. ABC's KVUE's Corey Coffin reports the bill got preliminary approval in the Senate yesterday.
This bill would allow county judges and other elected officials to recuse themselves from issuing marriage licenses if they have personal religious objections. And to be clear, it still allows the marriage licenses to be issued just by another official without any religious objections. The bill got full Republican support in the Senate and even one Democrat support during that vote yesterday with a vote of 21 to 10. Since the Texas legislature only meets every 2 years, this really is the first time lawmakers have been able to respond to the Supreme Court's June 2015 decision on gay marriage. But some lawmakers, like Senator Jose Menendez, worry that the legislation will open the state up to more lawsuits. Here's what the bill's writer, Senator Brian Birdwell, had to say to that.
Our fundamental obligation, Senator Menendez, as I believe it, is to protect both rights. The right to the couple that wants to get married based upon the Obergefell decision, and the right of conscience as explicitly expressed in both the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 4 of the state constitution. This bill protects both.
But other lawmakers have pointed out these positions, such as the judge you just heard from and the clerks who issue marriage licenses, are elected by the people. They argue that there's no room for arguments on the grounds of religion because of the separation of church and state that the governing body agrees to. Now, after the final vote in the Senate today, it'll next go to the House for consideration. Reporting from the Capitol, I'm Corey Coffin. Now back to you.
We'll continue to follow that as well. Corey, thanks so much. Later today, lawmakers will take a final vote on a bill that would make it easier for sexual assault survivors to track the investigation into their attackers. Tuesday, the House approved a bill that would create a statewide electronic database to track rape kits. That would make it easier for survivors to track their DNA samples in the system and make it less likely that the samples get lost.
The tracking system is a way to make sure that we keep up with that forensic evidence, make sure it gets to where it needs to go in a timely fashion, and that should help, for one thing, to address the backlog, but also allow survivors access codes so that they can know where their forensic evidence is in that process.
Howard says tracking the kits will be similar to tracking a package. The system will also tie into the national database, which will let police know if they're dealing with a repeat offender. The measure does not address the statewide backlog of untested DNA kits. A Kyle mother is making a desperate plea 3 months after her 15-year-old son was killed in a hit-and-run in Niederwald. In December, a truck hit Michael Mintz while he walked with friends down FM 2001 near State Highway 21. Witnesses say the driver of a red Dodge truck took off after crashing into Michael. 3 months later, no arrests have been made, and the Department of Public Safety has not reported any leads.
The parent, your job is to protect your child, and I couldn't do anything for him.
DPS says the truck had damage to the passenger fog light, side mirror, and passenger side front bumper. There is a $2,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. If you know anything, call Crime Stoppers. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is meeting today with high-level Russian officials. The talks come amid U.S. accusations that Russia is trying to cover up chemical attacks in Syria. ABC's Janae Norman reports this comes as the White House faces more fallout over the press secretary comparing Bashar al-Assad to Adolf Hitler.
Following the war of words between the White House and the Kremlin, negotiations.
And to further clarify areas of sharp difference so that we can better understand why these differences exist and what the prospects for narrowing those differences may be.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is in Moscow as tensions are high between the U.S. and Russia. Today, Russian President Vladimir Putin still casting doubt, asking for proof the Syrian army used chemical weapons. As the Kremlin continues to defend the Assad regime, Secretary of Defense James Mattis is doubling down on the administration's warning to Syria.
If they use chemical weapons, they are going to pay a very, very stiff price.
At the same time, the White House is still cleaning up the backlash over Press Secretary Sean Spicer comparing the Syrian chemical attack to the Holocaust.
You had someone as despicable as Hitler who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons.
Spicer not mincing words and still apologizing for the briefing room blunder.
To make a gaffe and a mistake like this is inexcusable and reprehensible. And so, of all weeks, this was not, this compounds that kind of mistake.
President Trump said in an interview he and the Chinese president were enjoying a beautiful piece of chocolate cake when he found out last week's strikes in Syria were successful. Today, Spicer said should chemical weapons continue to be used, the president will keep all options on the table. Janae Norman, ABC News, Washington.
Still ahead, changes could be coming to downtown San Antonio with the future of the Alamo in mind. Not everyone, though, thinks the change is going to be a good thing. And a new kind of chewing gum that could detect if you have cancer.